Whether you're paying up for one of those premium tight ends, are you looking to save money at the position? We're going to go over the key metrics you should decide in selecting your tight end. Plus, we'll tell you about a new free tool that can help gather these key metrics so you can make the right decision in building your NFL DFS lineup. And it's all coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lay.
And I'm Gary Kurtzman, and we are the Fantasy Football Consultants. We're recording a series of shows to help you, the viewer, know the right metrics to look at to select your winning lineups for DFS football for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Links to all these shows are found in the show descriptions. So Fantasy Football Consultants takes a look at every NFL game for the last 10 years and does a correlation analysis by position on performance versus metric to determine which metrics are the most highly correlated to performance. And for tight ends,
Dun, 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 dun.
the answer is pretty simple. It's the number of targets. I mean, really, the NFL is a volume game. It's the land of opportunity, Eric. Most tight ends have very similar air yards and yards after the catch. Those are metrics that we've talked about in previous videos. See quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, right? Now, the elite ones don't. I will give you that if your name is Travis Kelce or George Kittle or Mark Andrews or even Kyle Pitts, right, then you're special and you run fundamentally different kinds of routes than almost every other tight end. But other than
hang on a minute, I'm getting the call. Darren Waller? Yeah. I don't know why he excluded you.
Because you had a really crappy season last season. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Because you're being de-emphasized by the Raiders. Oh, where'd that come from? Anyway, moving right along. Point being is this. The most tight ends have a similar yards after the catch, similar air yards. They run similar routes. So what's going to differentiate? What's differentiating, Eric, is the number of targets. That's the key metric to determine tight end performance. I know it's not sexy. It's incredibly volume and opportunity driven, but there it is.
Well, let me ask you this question, Gary. We have a situation always when we give these metrics. What length of time should we go back and look at targets? Should it be season to date? Should it be just the last 8 games? Or should it be maybe the last 4 games? Generally with tight ends, which have more volatility, their roles don't change a lot. So I would think the more data in the current year, don't go back to last year, the better.
Yeah, and in fact, the thing about tight ends are they just simply get less opportunities than the rest of the positions. They certainly, it's less than wide receivers. It's far less than running backs or quarterbacks. So you need more data to make it statistically significant. So for all the other positions, 4 games is not only fine, it's optimal. For tight ends, it's 8. And I know that's a big number. And of course, the question is, what do you do in the beginning of the season when you don't have 8 games? Can you look back at last year? And the answer is no. I wish you could. You do the best you can with the number of targets. Fortunately, we're going to talk about a couple other metrics you can use that are probably better off in the beginning of the season. But to the extent that you have anywhere close to 8 games to look at, Eric, the number of targets is actually very, very correlative to performance.
Yeah. Not all targets are actually considered equal, especially with tight ends. But we're going to talk about targets that are inside the 10, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, those are the most valuable targets because, quite frankly, the vast majority of touchdowns by tight ends are from snaps inside the 10, right? So that's the short story and why you want to look at inside the 10 metrics. The great tight ends, I don't know if you can think of, like Tony Gonzalez is one example. Travis Kelce is another example off the top of my head. All right, I'll throw you a bone with your Darren Waller, right? They were all basketball players. Okay, we're talking power forwards, probably all 3 of them power forwards. I think they're definitely all basketball players in college, right? In addition to being football players. And the fact of the matter is they can box out with those big bodies. And why is that so valuable? Other than it's obvious that makes them a great target to catch a touchdown pass because tight ends don't get that many yards. They don't have that many targets. So to the extent they can score a touchdown, that's a huge percentage of their fantasy points. Yeah. You pick a tight end that gets a touchdown in any given game, it almost doesn't matter what you paid for him. That's gold, baby.
Yeah. So we've gone over 2 metrics. The third is something that, Gary, I think that we tell people to at least think about in all positions, but no position isn't more important than tight end. how their opponent does specifically against that position.
Part of this is just a dearth of metrics that are, statistically correlative to tight end performance. But part of this is, like Eric said, this is important no matter what. And it's kind of a dull point. The fact of the matter is, the teams that do well against tight ends, you're going to want to fade those particular tight ends. Obviously, the opponent's defense that does poorly, you're going to want to bump them up. But it's so important with tight ends, okay, that you look at the ranking versus tight ends and not the ranking against the pass.
Yep.
Because that would include wide receivers. Eric, the best teams to focus on, are the ones who defend the pass very well because they have two cornerbacks that are at or near the shutdown cornerback performance, see LA Ram. What's great about that is if you shut down the wide receivers on the outside, you're left with the catches over the middle. That's the running back of the tight end. It's beautiful. And they're typically guarded by safeties or linebackers. That's gold for a tight end. So all that to be saying, look for defense against the tight end, not just defense against the pass.
Yeah. Early in the season, though, be careful of this statistic. If you look and see, wow, they've done really well against tight ends after 3 weeks. Well, look at the tight ends they faced. If it was 3 teams that don't emphasize their tight ends.
And Eric, it's actually one reason why the fantasy football consultants, when we're picking our DFS lineups, especially in the beginning of the season, we typically don't pay up for them because you don't have enough data yet to really know who's the good value and who's not.
Now, one metric to keep in mind of the spread, you would prefer to have a tight end that is favored. Why? Because teams like to when they do pass when they're ahead, they're just trying to melt the clock. They're trying to move the chains. So they'll be more likely to feature their tight end, as opposed to a team that gets down by 2 or 3 touchdowns. They're likely looking for the quick score, which was wide receivers.
The viewer of Fantasy Football Consultants should be asking him or herself, where do I get all these statistics? Wouldn't it be great if there was one website that not only featured all of the important metrics that I need to look at, but also put them in an easily sortable format? Eric, I think we got just what the FFC viewers are looking for.
Yes, it's called DFS Hub. It is a new site this year, and we are so excited to be partnering with them. So here's the deal, folks. We want you to watch this short tutorial as we take you through some of the key tools they have on their site. Hi, everyone. We're on the DFS Hub site, and there's a lot of great tools on here. I'm going to just show you one, and it's my favorite, which is the NFL Lineup Builder tool. This is available for both the pro account and the free account. And I'm going to show you one aspect of it, the player list. So first of all, you can use this whether you're playing on DraftKings or FanDuel. And if we scroll down right in this section here, we've got listed all of our tight ends. And because I've listed on DraftKings, this is their DraftKings salary and all of the metrics we talked about on this show. Opportunities, i.e. targets in the last 4 games. I really love how they do the last 4 games because what they do is they take a median of it. So it gets the outlier game at the high one and the outlier game, which is the low one, takes those out and takes an average of the 2 in the middle, which I think is great. Also, opportunities inside the 10 last 4 games median. You see the position rank, the defense against the specific position, in this case, tight ends, and the spread. We like them to be favored. Also put in here the implied total, which is important, and the venue. Sometimes home tight ends do a little bit better. So those are the metrics that we talked about, but there's many, many others, including 15 in the free account total and over 70 in the pro account. I just want to point out that if you click on a particular player, let's say George Kittle, not only we get his picture and information up here, but more other statistics which you can use, what they've done in the last 4 games, as well as their teammates, and then a whole bunch of news information that's specifically related to that player. So these are some of the highlights. Let's talk about cost. As a reminder, you have 2 options. You can get a free account or a pro account. Here's my suggestion: if you're having any hesitancy, go ahead and get the free account. It's great. It has a lot of great tools that come with the free account. And then once you get an understanding of what is available on the free account, go ahead and sign up for only $1 to test out the pro account for a week. And you can see the additional features. And if you're sold, you can then go ahead and buy on a per weekly basis or go for the season pass. One quick favor I would like to ask you. We are an official affiliate of DFS so it helps us, our channel, out if you use our affiliate code. We'll put that up on the screen, which is dfshub.com/AFF=687. We'll also include that link in the description section. All right, let's rejoin Gary back in the studio.
Yeah, I really like how the DFS Hub website both aggregates and manipulates their metrics. It makes it so easy to use. It is so user-friendly. In addition to that, I'd be remiss if I didn't remind the viewer that in addition to this tight end show, and in fact, this particular series, that the Fantasy Football Consultants also has an in-depth 9-episode DFS Masters class where we do a deep dive into all the tips, the tricks, the strategies, and the metrics that you need for guaranteeing success in your NFL DFS lineups, be it guaranteed prize pool and cash games.
Yeah, noteworthy. It's on YouTube and it's all completely free. So thank you guys so much for joining us. If you made it all the way to this video, please smash that like button. And if you haven't yet, and I don't know what you're waiting for, smash the red subscriber button. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.